Alright, alright. I hear ya. You want to grind the new Swedish ground forces. You want access to the CBT. And you don't want to strangle yourself with your own testicles. The SAV is the vehicle for you. Let's talk about that. So this is QWERTY's in a cinematic reenactment of a battle that he had. Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies. Welcome to the War Thunder replay system, and welcome to the Swedish SAV. First off, I think this might be a little bit sped up for this first part, but I'm not quite sure. The SAV is a very nimble vehicle, and its other legendary property, well known to anyone that has faced the vehicle thus far, is its absolutely top tier, defining a new definition for fast rate of fire. For, what is this, 105mm cannon? Or is it bigger than that? Anyway, it's a howitzer. You just saw that fire rate. And yes, it fires, I think it's every 1.8 seconds for each of its 6 rounds in the autoloader. That's pretty crazy. However, you do not have armor protection to speak of. So this in real life would have been an artillery platform, a very interesting choice of a field gun. But in the game of War Thunder, this is one of the strongest tank destroyers in the game, and QWERTY's here is going to have a good match showing off some of its capabilities. One of the things to note about the SAV, as I've already mentioned, this is a howitzer vehicle, and that means your muzzle velocity is going to be rather low. Not altogether or unheard of at this tier, with the popularity of the American 75 that's essentially very similar to a howitzer. You've got your 105 Sherman, which has a much lower muzzle velocity than the SAV, and those are all vehicles that do very well. Then you have your rank 1 French tanks that have the muzzle velocity of a howitzer and the projectile mass of a 37, so they just can't do anything. Now, one thing you can do in the SAV right now, and one thing you can do in the S-Tank, is to respawn twice with the same vehicle. Of course, that's because as of the recording of this video, the Swedish ground forces only had access to the 2 premium vehicles. So this was your entire lineup. And to have 3 spawns in a premium rank, I think this is a rank 2 vehicle, now sitting at battle rating 3.7, I think. It started off at 3.3, which was complete insanity. You can see the rank 1 American light tanks that's facing off against, no issues punching through their armor, and with the incredible mass of these howitzer rounds flying down range, when they do punch through, they hit to kill. So what else do I need to mention about this vehicle? It was a little bit dirty. it was a little bit overpowered when it came to the game. I don't really have an issue with it. Maybe I just haven't seen it often enough, but I have the suspicion that it will be a lot more popular once more people are playing Swedish ground forces. So after the Swedes come out, this might show its colors a little bit more, but between the complete lack of armor protection and the open top nature of the vehicle, a speedy boy with a quick reload and no armor is nothing new at rank 1 or rank 2. So the only thing this has going for it above and beyond the rest is the girth of its gun and the incredible reload rate of that autoloader. But once you've fired through your half a dozen rounds, you are in a much more exposed position than the quick firing cannons that you'll commonly face. Even the Panzer III, the Panzer IV F2 has a reasonably good fire rate for its 75 at a lower battle rating and with higher muzzle velocity and just as much ability to kill in one shot. The Panzer IV F2, of course, is the gold standard when it comes to the maximum power level for a 3.3, 3.7 battle rating vehicle in the game. And the American Sherman medium tanks at lower rank are extremely powerful for their versatility, as I've spoken of before. But the SAV almost feels like a low-tier M18 with a fixed gun, or a casemate design. That high mobility, good amount of lethality, fantastic reload rate. The M18 has a very good reload rate for the amount of damage it can do with its cannon, but of course another thing the American M18 has is a much higher battle rating, a turret, a top mounted 50 cal, and a lot more armor penetration. What else am I forgetting? A 5.7 battle rating. That I heard a little bit of doomsaying and stinkum when certain American vehicles were bumped up to 5.7, 6.0, but having played those vehicles myself before and after their BR increase, it doesn't change anything. They're still just as powerful as they used to be, and even being in a higher battle rating range helps them out a little bit sometimes, because a lot of their enemies have longer reload times with their larger cannons. So here you can see QWERTY's running for his life from aircraft, and there's just another weakness of the SAV. This is a very interesting vehicle, definitely one of the most modern rank 2 vehicles in the game, as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure this is a post-World War II design, but I could be wrong. The Swedes have always been very innovative, experimental designers of equipment, and yet at the same time, for as many strengths as this vehicle has in the game of War Thunder, its weaknesses more than make up for the fact that it has such potential. And what this means is that it can be incredibly powerful for a new player to the game. They'll have a lot more chances to get rounds downrange before they die, even if they're in a bad position. The low amount of armor is usually more of a liability than an asset at low tier, because you're not looking at a lot of high penetration APHE rounds that'll pass through your vehicle without detonating, so that feature is not really all that helpful. Add to that the fact that hull brake is constantly being adjusted. And this is definitely one of those vehicles that could be subject to hull brake. I'm not sure how easy it is to hull brake. I've always just killed the dang thing. It doesn't have a ton of survivability, although tanking those 50 cal rounds well enough at that range is something to be noted. But its vulnerability to aircraft is a big Achilles heel, because even in rank 2 and early rank 3, especially against the USA, you have some of the best ground strike aircraft in the game, and that's just anything that has American 50 cals at low tier, where your heavy machine guns can punch through the roof armor of almost anything, and certainly the SAV. Of course, since this is a Swedish vehicle, you don't really fit in to the whole Axis versus Allies narrative, beside the fact that Gaijin has started to really embrace mixed battles in tank RB. RB realistic battles being stretched even further in its meaning with the inclusion of Swedish ground forces in the melee. And where do you belong in a historical conflict? On the other side of your own border, I suppose. But in the game of War Thunder, you can be matched up with anyone, so the Swedes will be filling the holes of the nations as you do. And that means that you could face off against anyone, even more than the German and American vehicles that are so popular and still can wind up facing their own nation in mixed battles with the way tank RB has been going these days. You can expect to face all the nations of War Thunder and face off fairly well, as you see QWERTY's doing here. Clearly, this is a vehicle that can be very effective in the hands of an experienced player. At 3.7 battle rating, you are in just the absolute sweet spot of War Thunder when it comes to actually enjoying the game and getting into some really interesting and action-packed matches. The gameplay here is the heart of what War Thunder should be. Some of the less well-balanced game mechanics and vehicles are not on display at this tier at all. Again and again, I say that low tier is fun tier, and 3.7 is smack dab in the middle of it. You will start to face Shermans and T-34s that could pose a problem in terms of armor, and certainly have armament that can make your life miserable if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You definitely will face a plethora of German vehicles that can outstrip you in terms of danger head on. Anyone can kill you, but if they have a good shot at you. But at least the Germans don't have the mobility and gun handling that the Americans have. There's a wide range of vehicles you can face, and you're capable of dealing with most of the popular vehicles from the front, with the exception perhaps of a KV-2 that knows what he's doing. If he angles properly, your sub 100 millimeters of penetration will have a very hard time dealing with him. Your high fire rate could provide some options, and it looks like you also have some smoke grenades, so hey, there's an improvement over the S-Tank. Anyway, I have the suspicion that you would not regret buying the SAV. Like I mentioned in my S-Tank video, that was my choice, and I'm certainly not interested in buying 2 Swedish Ground Forces packs. That's just outside my price range. But I am happy with my S-Tank after having gone through that whole experience, and I suspect that I would have been a lot more joyful to just enjoy the low-tier madness that is the SAV, and I've certainly enjoyed sharing this time with you as this battle starts to wind to a close. And I'm always happy to get yet another QWERTY's submission. He gives himself missions to find specific interesting matches, and I can tell that he puts in the work, because the result is matches like this. I think there was some bad grammar in there, but who cares? The result is a match like this. So QWERTY's, once again, I tip my invisible hat to you, sir. Thank you for sending in this replay, and to you all, thanks for watching this video. I know you're all so busy grinding out Swedish Ground Forces. They really do look rather interesting and diverse, with even their more their more mainstream designs having little tweaks and additions or certain specifications that make them just unique enough to be engaging. So I'm really looking forward to Swedish Ground Forces. I know that a lot of you are excited as well. I suffer every time I see the state of the coding of this game. It's in a pretty rough place when it comes to client stability, when it comes to certain features that just, it seems like a bug will be fixed, and then the next update it'll be back with more friends alongside it. And the term spaghetti code comes to mind. But let's shift our attention to the meatballs and Swiss cheese for a while and enjoy the real beauty of what War Thunder has to offer, and that is by far the most diverse gaming experience you can find in a free-to-play game, if not the entire gaming experience on the internet today. And picking up one last kill, QWERTY is going to close out this match. Sorry if I sound a little bit weird. I'm trying to be quiet because my wife is sleeping on the couch behind me. I'm tired and I still have the black lung, so I'll probably feel better someday. I don't feel better today, but I feel great having spent some time with you all. I've been chatting it up with you guys on the Discord. There is a link in the description of this video to my Discord where you're invited to chat with me and share your ideas. I'm still working on my dream game in my head, and I have a channel called War Thunder 2 Design Bureau where you can submit your ideas for let's say the tank game that you would make, and I'd be interested to see that. And of course, I encourage you to send in your own replay via the methods described previously. Anyway, catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.